Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. Today we'll be discussing the history of educational institutions within the wizarding world. As it stands today, there are 11 noteworthy and reputable wizarding schools that can be found in various regions scattered across the globe. Each of these institutions have long-standing histories and are recognized by the International Confederation of Wizards, specifically catalogued by the Confederation's Educational Office. Their inclusion within the Educational Office's catalogue essentially communicates to witches and wizards looking to send their children to school that these are the gold standards for education within magical society. And while these 11 schools are not the only institutions to have existed over the centuries, there are many smaller wizarding schools which have been established over the years. They are certainly the best. This is due to the fact that the lesser-known, smaller schools often operate without following the proper protocols. They are typically unregistered with their respective ministries and fail over time. Therefore, they are considered to be unregulated and potentially unreliable when it comes to student curriculum. As a result, the majority of these institutions do not tend to stand the test of time, and will therefore not be included in today's overview of the history of education within the wizarding world. While it may seem rather odd that there are less than a dozen registered magical institutions worldwide, especially when compared to the 195 countries that exist, evidently there are various populations that prefer other methods of education. In fact, according to what we know, a rather large percentage of wizarding families around the world prefer to homeschool their children, instead of sending them to a boarding school like Hogwarts School or Ilvermorny. As the existence of magic predates any history books that we have, and continues to be wielded by witches and wizards to this day, it can only be assumed that the wizarding world has always offered magical teachings in some form or another. Presumably, as wizarding populations grew, parents would teach their children their magical skills, passing down their abilities and introducing them to items deemed essential within certain magical societies, such as wands. Although this type of education would not have been standardized by any means, it surely existed prior to the introduction of regulated wizarding schools. Establishment of the first wave of official magic schools seems to have taken place in the 10th and 11th centuries. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Wagadu, and Castello were all established around the 900s, although it's unknown when exactly each of these schools were founded. These three magical institutions were built during this time in different continents spread out across various regions, suggesting that the global wizarding community may have been attempting to offer magical populations within different parts of the world the option to learn through a standardized educational system. These three locations were Hogwarts Scottish Highlands, Wagadu's Mountains of the Moon in Uganda, and Castelo Bruxo's Amazon rainforest in Brazil. Of course, as is the case with all magical schools, the exact location of each of these institutions is unknown in order to protect the students and faculty from dangers like hostile muggles, dark wizards, and/or warring nations. That said, we do know that most are believed to be protected by natural surroundings like mountain ranges and lakes. While the nationalities of these institutions' students during their early years is unknown, today, Hogwarts accepts young witches and wizards from Scotland, England, Ireland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. Wagadu, on the other hand, welcomes students from all over the continent of Africa, and similarly, Castelo Bruxo admits students from across South America. It is said that students who have been accepted to Wagadu are notified by dream messengers, who come to them in a dream and leave behind a token. Wagadu is the only known wizarding school to notify students this way. The next couple wizarding schools to crop up consisted of Beauxbaton Academy of Magic and Durmstrang Institute. The exact date of establishment for both of these institutions is unknown. However, we do know that they were founded sometime before the late 13th century, as the first ever Triwizard Tournament was held around this time. The Triwizard Tournament consists of a competition between the three largest schools in Europe, which, as you may have guessed, are Hogwarts, Beauxbaton, and Durmstrang. So even though we may not know exactly when these two schools were established, we do know that by the latter half of the 1200s, they were respectively considered to be two of the biggest wizarding schools in all of the European continent. Beauxbatons Academy of Magic can be found somewhere in France's Pyrenees Mountains, admitting students from France, Spain, Portugal, Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. Durmstrang, on the other hand, is located somewhere in northern Scandinavia and primarily accepts students from countries in northern and eastern Europe. Likely the youngest regulated and reputable magic school in existence is Ilvermorny School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. This institution was established in the early 1600s by an Irish witch, Iseult Sayre, who'd fled Ireland and ended up in North America. Together with her family, Iseult built and founded Ilvermorny somewhere within Mount Greylock in the United States of America. The school is the primary institution for young North American witches and wizards. The two remaining wizarding schools that we know of, Koldovstoriets and Mohutukoro, have histories that mostly remain a mystery to this day. The date of establishment for both institutions is unknown, as is their exact locations. However, it's been speculated that Mohutukoro is a small ancient Japanese school built entirely out of mutton fat jade and sits upon Minami Iwo-jima, a volcanic island in Japan. Speculations regarding the location of Koldovstoriets are much less precise, with most believing it to be located somewhere in the vast country of Russia. The nationalities of admitted students are also unknown for both of these schools. In theory, however, it wouldn't be a bad guess to suggest that Koldovstoriets accepts students from Russia and Mohutukoro accepts students from all over Asia. It's also been said that Mohutukoro accepts students earlier than most wizarding schools, allowing witches and wizards to begin their education at the age of 7. By contrast, the majority of wizarding schools admit students the year that they turn 11. While of course there are exceptions, many of these soon-to-be first years are notified of their acceptance to school by OWL. Just as there are variations in the age of admittance and methods of acceptance for each wizarding school, there are presumably differences in the courses they offer as well. That said, I would assume that the core classes are all rather similar to the curriculum provided at Hogwarts, which we know to include the following: astronomy, charms, defense against the dark arts, herbology, history of magic, potions, and transfiguration. In terms of electives, it's hard to say exactly what each school offers. This is especially true considering the different ways in which witches and wizards perform magic throughout the world. For example, the use of wands was invented by the European wizarding community, and therefore is not necessarily integral to all classes within other nations outside of Europe and North America. This is further supported by the fact that students who attend Wagadu are often particularly skilled in astronomy, alchemy, and self-transfiguration, all of which can be performed without wands, and 2 of which are not core courses at Hogwarts. This leads me to believe that at least some Hogwarts electives are also interwoven into the curriculum in other parts of the world. A few examples are care of magical creatures, divination, study of ancient runes, alchemy, and apparition. In addition to the regulated system of schools and magical education offered to young witches and wizards by the 11 globally recognized schools, there are also a number of institutions that provide specialized curriculum. For example, there are rumors of an Academy of Broom Flying, a Charm School, and a Euroglyph School of Extraordinary Languages. The origins and histories of these various schools are unknown, although it's rather likely that none of them are properly accredited and they serve as more recreational learning than anything else. And with that, we've come to the end of today's video. What did you think? Did I miss anything? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live.